An Australian man jailed for 20 years for murder in Bulgaria has lost his final appeal there against his sentence. Jock Palfreeman was convicted of stabbing a Bulgarian student and wounding another during a drunken street brawl in 2007. He pleaded not guilty, saying it was self-defence. The prosecution is now demanding a life sentence without parole. For more, Julian McMahon joins me now on the phone from Melbourne. Mr McMahon has given legal advice to the Palfreeman family since Jock Palfreeman was arrested back in 2007. Julian McMahon, good morning. What did you think of this decision by the court in Bulgaria?
Good morning. Well, so far I haven't read it. I only have media reports, and the media reports are disappointing in terms of what they say the court has said. It seems to reverse the onus of proof back onto Jock, contrary to law. So that's only relying on the media. It's disappointing.
Yeah. How have the courts been inconsistent through this?
Well, the central issue is whether Jock saw a group of men, about 12 or 15 or so young men, belting some gypsies, or Roma as they're called in Bulgaria. And the first trial said there was no such incident. In other words, it accepted the version of the boys in the group that there was no such incident. That was plainly false. In the appeal court, they found that that was false and that there was an incident, but then they said it didn't matter, it wasn't relevant. So the conflict in the case is, on the one hand, did Jock race over to save someone who was being bashed by a gang, or alternatively, did he, for no reason at all, rush into a large group of young men and say he wanted to kill them all? That's basically what the conflict is about.
Has the person who was allegedly being bashed ever been found or come forward?
No. But there's no doubt that such a bashing took place. The finding of the second court made that clear, and the witnesses changed their evidence in the court and so on. There's no doubt that it took place. There's independent evidence of it.
Has the evidence, though, also been inconsistent on both sides?
I don't think so. The evidence has changed from the group of people who were what we might call the gang. The independent evidence has remained the same all the way through, and the evidence from Jock has remained the same. It's a very difficult issue in Bulgaria because Bulgaria has to confront allegations of racism which are levelled against that country, against Roma, and Jock has just been in the wrong place at the wrong time, it seems, gone to save a Roma, and now finds himself in this terrible predicament. What
efforts have the family gone to, and the legal representation gone to actually see if they can find this Roma gypsy who was being bashed? Because it would seem to be that, that would be a huge advantage.
It's obviously a huge part. Well, the family has retained Bulgarian lawyers, and I guess they've done whatever they can, but he's never been found, and the police never found him.
Yeah. So you've advised the Palfreeman family over the years. How effectively do you think his case was put during the different trials that they've been?
I think it was put very effectively. Yeah. They've got a good lawyer there, and he's done a good job. It's both surprising and, sort of almost embarrassing, some of the reasons that have been given in these judgments. The change from saying that there was no attack to saying, oh, well, yes, there is an attack, but it doesn't matter, and then pushing that aside and preferring the evidence of people who changed their version over the independent evidence and Jock's evidence is not something that would get very far in our court, I don't think.
So this may be the final hearing in Bulgaria, but there is one last avenue?
Yes, the Bulgaria, you can appeal to what's called the European Court of Human Rights. And in fact, there are very many cases from Bulgaria to the European Court of Human Rights. It's one of about 10 countries that have a lot of appeals going there, and the European Court has found against Bulgaria on many dozens of occasions for breaches of laws going to human rights. In this case, it would be about what we would call, if you like, legal reasoning, that the trial was unfair because whenever the law was applied to the facts, the argument would be the results were illogical or unpredictable or not according to good reasoning. For instance...
Sorry, go ahead.
Go on. Well, the court in one instance in the lower court found on the one hand, gave the evidence that there was a belting of the Roma, but then said in its conclusion, we find that there was no evidence of a belting of a Roma. So sort of basic fundamental points like that, which are pretty obvious when you put them in such a blunt way, but that would be the sort of basis of the application to the European Court. But having said all that, I still haven't read the final decision.
Yeah.
So,
You mentioned that the European Court has found against the Bulgarian system on a number of occasions, but do the Bulgarian courts have to abide by the decisions of the European Human Rights Court then?
Well, it's quite a complex question, but the basic answer is they do comply. According, for instance, to the material that I've read, is that when the European Court makes a finding against Bulgaria, the government does comply with that court, and that seems to be the protocol across Europe.
If that was so in this case, would that simply lead to another retrial or a different outcome?
There's a wide range of possible outcomes. It could lead to a further hearing of some kind. The basic issue is, on the one hand, did Jock act as a murderer with a hooligan intent, or was he acting in self-defence, or was he acting in self-defence but went too far? Now, the European Court of Human Rights could make a number of different findings and a number of different recommendations once they had all the material.
Now, we know Jock Palfreeman's family has stood by him through all of this, and they've made repeated trips to Bulgaria to be there with him.
Sure.
How do you understand that they will be taking this decision now?
Well, Jock's father will be there early next week. They'll take it really hard. You know, a lot of effort has gone in. He's been over there. Simon Palfreeman's been over there, at least 25 times. It's a crushing burden for everybody in that family, and this will just be one more savage blow. But I was thinking early today, he's a bit like the old-fashioned digger, Simon Palfreeman. He's not going to give up. He'll just keep fighting on, and they just have to make strategic decisions. For instance, they might stop fighting now. Maybe, I don't know if they've got any money to pay the Bulgarian lawyers or to keep travelling, or they might choose to go to the European Court. They'll have to make that decision themselves over the next little while.
Yeah. Okay, Julian McMahon, thanks very much for talking to us.